What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here with my top 50 players in the 2022 NFL Draft, my BLV NFL Draft board. The big board for the 2022 NFL Draft, according to yours truly. This is my opinion on the prospects, the top prospects in this year's NFL Draft at every position. And how this is going to work is it's my perspective, what I value in every position. So there's going to be some prospects on here that are ranked low for some people, that are ranked high for some people, that are ranked just right for others. And this is truly based on what I've seen on film, very limited in terms of anything else. I barely really look at stats. I barely look at analytics. Mostly everything here is based on what I saw with my two eyes watching the film. And I watch film for every one of these prospects up and down the board at every position. I have a good feel for all of these players, and these are the 50 best players in my opinion. Now, it is not in order of how I would pick them necessarily, because the position value of the player is not taken into account a ton. There are some that I move up or down the board dependent on if they're very close to another prospect and they play, let's say, the quarterback position or the edge position or the corner position, the tackle position, important positions, then they may move up if they're compared closely to a lesser important position, let's say. But mostly, this is just the best players in the draft from 50 to number 1. So, before I get started, don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe for more NFL draft content. I put out a mock draft with my guy Ruben from Catch the Blitz. Him and I went back and forth, each pick, playing GM for every team. I'll also be releasing 2 more mock drafts where one I predict what's going to happen and the other I am the GM for every one of these teams in the draft. So if that sounds good, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more BLV. Let's get to the draft rankings and begin at number 50. My number 50 player is running back Isaiah Spiller. Now, you guys know I don't really value running backs like a lot of other people. I value them lower than most, I would say, at least the casual audience, as I think running backs are a dime a dozen most of the time. Now, with Isaiah Spiller, he's not usually my cup of tea at the running back position. He's usually not a guy that I would be wowed by. And I wasn't necessarily wowed by Isaiah Spiller, as Isaiah Spiller is kind of a weird prospect this year. He has a wide range of rankings. I've seen him ranked as the number 1 running back in this class, which I think is far, far too high. But I also think that he is ranked a little low by other standards. What I like about Isaiah Spiller is his well-rounded game. I think he is very good as a pass catcher and a pass blocker. He really impressed me as a pass blocker, which is really hard to do at the college level because a lot of running backs in college can't really protect. He has extraordinary vision. I thought he had the best vision I saw on tape of any of the running backs that I watched. I think he's really patient as a runner and has really elusive feet. And those are areas that I think transcend to any level of competition, to any league. Because, yes, he's not a guy that's going to hit the home run. He's not a guy that's going to go for 50-yard touchdowns. He doesn't have that breakaway speed, which holds him back from being my number 1 or number 2 running back in this class. But that vision, the ability to cut, the ability to make people miss, that ability to always seem to hit the right hole and gain yards is extremely underrated. On top of his well-rounded versatility, I like him as a football player, and I believe he is my 3rd ranked running back in this class at number 50. At number 49, this is already going to shock some people. Malik Willis, quarterback, Liberty. Now, I've already discussed Malik Willis in length. If you want to see that scouting report, go over there and check it out for my quarterback rankings. I think Malik Willis is far riskier than a lot of people are really discussing. I think there is a chance that Malik Willis is never really truly a starting caliber quarterback in this league, which is why he's so low on my list. Again, I didn't take into positional value. If I took positional value into things, he'd be much higher on this list, obviously, as he is a quarterback. But I like and I dislike things in Malik Willis's game. To be brief, I love his arm strength. I love his ability to extend plays. I love his strength in his lower body. I think it is very, very top notch. His ability to break tackles, his ability to extend plays, his ability to be a runner on designed runs. Just about everything else I do not like about Malik Willis. I don't necessarily love his height. He's kind of not that tall for a guy that's going to be running a ton in the NFL. He is not very accurate. I mean, he's inconsistent. I wouldn't say he's as inaccurate as somebody like Desmond Ridder in this class or Trey Lance last year, but he is inaccurate and lacks consistent mechanics, which I'm huge on at the NFL level. He is very, very raw as a processor, seeing the field, diagnosing defenses, and just running and operating an NFL caliber offense. He is very raw in the mental space, and he's still raw as a passer. He's a good thrower of the ball, power thrower of the ball. He is not a great touch passer. So Malik Willis has some traits that are upper echelon that is going to be tantalizing for people, but he also has a lot of traits that I don't love in quarterbacks. Personally, I like my quarterbacks like my favorite quarterback, and you know who that is. So that's why he's at number 49. At number 48, I have Roger McCrary. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, I like my corners to play man, to be sticky, to be physical. And Roger McCrary is just that. Now, he is a little bit smaller, and I definitely am concerned about his length as a cornerback because I think that is essential in the NFL. But what I like about Roger McCrary is just how sticky he is in coverage. Doesn't allow people to get open. He just doesn't. He's tight in coverage, whether he's playing on the perimeter, and I believe in the NFL he can play in the nickel position. I think his size is more made for nickel at the NFL level. I don't know how good he's going to be on the outside. Now, saying that, he does kind of have the size of somebody like a Malcolm Butler, who got away with playing on the outside due to his press, his physicality, and his feistiness. And I think McCrary has a lot of those things on top of that tight stickiness that Malcolm Butler also had. So I see some similarities there. I think he could be a good player in man-to-man systems, and I think he can play on the outside or the inside, and I think he can at least be a number 3 corner in this league, if not better. So I just loved the tape from McCrary. I thought his tape was really, really, really good. And yes, he doesn't have all the physical traits that you love to see from a first-round corner, so that's what kind of knocks him down in the second-round range, but his tape is first-round worthy. So he is my number 48 corner, or 48 player. Number 47 is Nakobe Dean, linebacker of Georgia. This is also going to be very surprising for some people. But again, guys, this is my list. This is how I'm ranking the prospects. You guys let me know where I'm wrong and where I'm right. Nakobe Dean, the reason I'm not a fan is more of what I like from linebackers and what I don't like from linebackers. Nakobe Dean is too small for my taste. I just don't love his size. I think he's too small, and it shows up on tape when I watch him. Now, it's not going to show up when you watch highlights. It's not going to show up when you even watch Georgia games because you won't be able to watch it that closely. And what I like about Nakobe Dean is he's smart. He's a leader. Obviously, he's played versus the best competition. He's the captain of a defense, and he sees things very well, and he's a great blitzer. Downhill, he can get after it. He's also decent in coverage. I wouldn't say he's great, but he's decent. Nakobe Dean, I just didn't love his size to get off blocks, to get through the trash, of the run game. And as a Patriots fan, I am used to bigger linebackers who can come downhill and smash people in the face. And Nakobe Dean is not that. And Nakobe Dean is a smaller guy. And for a smaller guy, I didn't think he was overly explosive on film. I didn't see Devin Lloyd type speed where if you're smaller, you got to run fast and you got to be laterally explosive. And to me, Dean is two things that I think just really hurt a linebacker in the modern NFL. Small and not that explosive. So while Dean is very smart, I'm just not sure he has what it takes in the NFL to be a great linebacker. I think he can contribute. I don't know if he's going to be great. So that's my number 47. My number 46 is Boye Maefe, edge player, very raw, but has a lot of skills to be pretty darn good at the next level. I think he needs to work on his run defense. I think he needs to work on setting the edge. And I do think there's a lot to work with in terms of his pass rushing ability, his twitchiness, his speed, his ability to get around the corner. I think he can end up being a guy that can bend and get around the corner and get to quarterbacks. This is a common thread and chain throughout this entire draft. I did not sense a lot of pass rushers that could really bend and get to the quarterback. But Maefe has great twitch and great speed that can beat tackles around the corner to get to them. But yeah, he's more of a raw guy, but definitely at his position, somebody that could be taken, molded, and become a very good pass rusher. So at number 46, Boye Maefe. At number 45, I've got Bryan Cook, safety. Bryan Cook is a big dude. He's a specimen, and he hits people. He's a sure tackler, and I think he's got more versatility in coverage than I think others would think, because I think when you look at him, he looks like a big box safety that can't really move, but I sensed enough fluidity in his motion, in his movements, to be able to become a split safety in, let's say cover twos. I think he can play one half of the field. I think he can come down in the box and smash people. I think he's big, which will allow him to set the edge and be like an extra linebacker type guy. So I think he has a lot of versatility in the NFL to be a sub-package linebacker, to be an explosive blitzer, to be even a cover guy in the deep secondary. So I really liked Bryan Cook, and there's no wonder why his team was so good on defense. Number 44 is Chris Olave. I was going to say 47 for some reason. Chris Olave might also be very, very low for a lot of people. But again, this is just not somebody that I loved in terms of his skill set. And skill sets are going to be different for everybody in terms of what they like. And for Chris Olave, I just see him as a number 2 receiver. I think he's very fluid and he wastes no steps and he's just very smooth. I think he is NFL ready if you put him in the slot. Where I really struggle with Chris Olave is I don't think he is an alpha X receiver because he cannot get off press coverage, and I did not see him get off press coverage very often. Any sort of physicality he struggled with, which is a big red flag for me because there's a lot of receivers that come into the NFL and do not know how to get off of the line of scrimmage, and they struggle. And Olave is skinny. He's not particularly big. And even though he's a great route runner, you need to be able to get into those routes to succeed on the outside. So as a Z receiver or a slot receiver, I think he can be fine and effective. And because of his explosiveness, his speed, and his route running, just absolute smoothness, I think he can be successful. But I do think it's as a Robin and not as a Batman. So that's why I have Olave at number 44. My number 43 is Breece Hall, running back. Breece Hall, I really liked because he kind of surprised me in terms of his explosiveness. I thought he was going to be somebody that was going to be, well-rounded, could catch the football, could run the football, could do a little bit of everything outside the tackles, inside the tackles. pass protect, which he does all those things darn well, but it's the explosiveness that takes it to the next level for me. He's not quite as explosive as my number one running back, but he is very explosive and definitely starting running back type of quality in terms of his well-rounded skill set, in terms of his vision, in terms of his feet, in terms of his long speed, which is, I think, the difference maker between being a really good running back and a good one. So I think Breece Hall really has everything that you want for a 3-down running back skill set in the NFL. Is he the best pass catcher or the best route runner in this draft? No, but he can do it well enough with his combination of his running style and running ability that I'm very confident he'll be a starting running back in this league. The number 42 player in this draft is Nick Bonito, edge. And Benito, I think, has some of the most upper echelon bend in this class. Like, this guy just flashes. This guy, he pops off the screen in terms of his pass rushing capabilities, because he's one of the few guys in this class that can dip. You know, when I say dip, I'm talking about like Von Miller getting down that leverage and getting around the tackles, and Benito possesses that. Now, my problems with him, which is why he's low, because he has all these skill sets that can make him a really good pass rusher, but why I think he is a little bit lower here is he's smaller, and I'm not sure he's going to be an every down player. I think at his worst, he's just a situational pass rusher, but at his best, he could be an undersized asset for a team that maybe they put him in the right spot and he can really be something special. But I really liked his pass rushing capabilities, and of course, you're going to always trend towards pass rushing. I thought he definitely showed more upside than somebody like Boye Maefe in terms of the ability to already possess some of the traits that I really look for in elite pass rushers. So at number 42, Nick Bonito. Number 41 is Jahan Dotson of Penn State. I really like Dotson, and I think some people are higher on him than me or than others, but I feel like Dotson, I love him because of his toughness. I really love tough receivers, and I think Dotson is one of those guys. He's one of the few, I thought, in this class that was undersized, but also could take a hit over the middle. And I thought he made a lot of plays over the middle of the field. Obviously, he didn't have the most accurate of quarterbacks at Penn State, but he, despite that, made a lot of plays. He was by far the best weapon on this team, and I thought showed an ability to separate at all three levels of the field. He's not super explosive to me, which is why maybe I'm not super high on him, but I do think he could be a very good number 2 receiver in this league, and does have a profile similar to somebody like Deontay Johnson, where I think he's going to win with quickness, his route running, and his toughness. I think that he can be really, really good. I'm just not sure if he can be great, but I absolutely really like his style of play. So at number 41, Jahan Dotson. At number 40, Alec Pierce of Cincinnati. Pierce is another receiver here that I really like, and I actually think I've grown in terms of my appreciation for his game, because when looking at crossover tape facing Cincinnati, when I was watching cornerbacks and safeties, he just continued to pop for me in terms of his ability to separate down the field from opposing corners. That's something that I think I noticed the first time I watched him, but I'm still skeptical about his ability laterally to consistently separate in terms of at the short and intermediate levels of the field. I think he can do it down the field and turn well enough where he can win on deep in routes and deep crossers and things like that. But I'm not so sure how effective he'll be in the short and intermediate levels of the field, but time will tell. I think he is a very good prototypical outside wide receiver who can win vertically, who can burn corners down the field, who has size, who can win contested footballs in the red zone on big plays. So for that, he has a real chance of becoming a number 1 receiver and has the profile of being what you look for in a number 1 receiver. So that's why I'm high on him at number 40. At number 39, Leo Chanel, leader and captain of Wisconsin and that defense, one of the best defenses in the nation last year. Leo Chenal, somebody that's not being talked about enough. I believe it's Chanel or Chanel. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he's a beast. I mean, this guy, I think, honestly, he's not being hyped up because of, let's just say he goes to Wisconsin. And you know the other reasons. But Leo, also his name's Leo. Like, I mean, come on. But Leo, I think, is a complete and my style linebacker, which is why I really like him. Because he's got size, but he's also got enough fluidity in his movements and real explosiveness. Explosiveness in terms of power. Explosiveness in terms of just bullying people off the ball. Even versus guys like Linderbaum, who's one of my favorite players in this draft class. Like, at times, like, dominated in terms of point of contact, winning in terms of the run game, being a thumper downhill, but also having that movement skill to track people sideline to sideline, to dropping back into coverage, which is not particularly his strength, but he has enough speed, enough movement. I mean, he ran like a 4.5 at the combine. So he definitely shown enough athleticism on top of his mental processing, his brain, his leadership. All of that stuff is there on top of the physicality that I love to see from my linebackers, the size that I love to see from my linebackers, a little versatility in the blitzing department. So all of those things are something that I think is going to make him very, very appealing to a team like the Patriots, a team like the Ravens. One of those teams that likes to see thicker linebackers, but one that is kind of new age and can also move very well. So he's kind of what you want in a linebacker, in my opinion. At number 38, I've got Jalen Peterson of the Baylor defense, and I really, really liked his tape in terms of his versatility and his playmaking ability. Now, I don't really know what he's truly going to be in the NFL, which is why he's not super high, because if you're just talking about defensive playmakers in the secondary in this class, he's up there. I mean, his ability to play at the line of scrimmage was really, really good. His ability to shoot through gaps, see things, and go make plays in the run game, make plays in the screen game. I think where he's at his best is as a nickel player and maybe as a strong safety, but I think he could kind of do it all because he's got enough athleticism and speed to play free safety, but he also has the attitude of a strong safety. So I think where he's going to be at his best is in like a heavy zone blitzing defense that allows him to play near the line of scrimmage and allows him to shoot gaps, play free, play, reckless, and then also be a blitzer and a cover guy. So I think he's kind of like somebody that's maybe like a bigger Mike Hilton style player. And I really like that style of player. He's tough. I think he sets the tone. I think he can hit people. I think he can cover in zone. I'm not sure. We didn't see a ton of man-to-man stuff, but I would really like to see what he could do at the next level. But yeah, he's just a playmaker, period. And playmakers, they get me every time. So I like him a lot. Next, we've got number 37, Jaquan Brisker, who's very similar in terms of what they asked him to do at Penn State. I liked him more because he was slightly more. I mean, they're back-to-back. Just because of his prototypical size, I clearly see him being more attainable and usable for more teams in the NFL because I think he can be a strong traditional safety. If you want him to be Cam Chancellor, he can be that. But he could also probably do a lot more than that. He could be an in-box linebacker in sub-package. He could be a nickel player. I think Brisker's just really smart. Like, really smart, really diagnoses things well, and just a playmaker, again, a guy that all over the football, all over the field. Every time you watch him, he's everywhere, and that's the type of player I want on my defense. I want a couple guys like that on my defense, and he is that type of player. I think he's going to be really good, I think, and a really solid starter. I don't know if he's going to be a star at any point, but I think he could be a starter for a long time given his skill set and his athleticism. Next, we've got Tyler Smith, the offensive lineman. Tyler Smith is kind of raw in terms of his pass protection, but there was really nobody better in terms of his run blocking and his just pancake city. I mean, this guy just runs people over. He has an attitude, and that's why I like Tyler Smith. I think he's going to really suit people that play power schemes, that want to see the ferociousness, the viciousness, and the old school mentality of their guards and their offensive linemen. I think he plays guard at the next level. I like him. I think he's got that old school ability that I personally value in my linemen. Next, we've got Arnold Ebiketie, which sometimes I screw his name up, but I think I got it there. Arnold Ebiketie of Penn State is raw, but the good type of raw. Really pops as a pass rusher. He's got all of the skills, all of the measurables to be an elite pass rusher. Not just a good one, but like an elite one. He's got the bend to be able to do it. He's got the quickness, the speed, the power. Again, somebody that's probably not going to be ready day one to be like a starting defensive end, but he could rotate in and give you a spark in terms of athleticism and pass rush right away. And if you can develop his technique, his ability to play with a plan, his hands, I think that he can be really darn good because he has everything it takes. So that's why he's at number 35 for me. At number 34, Treylon Burks, wide receiver. Some people love him. I'm not the guy that loves him necessarily because I still don't know necessarily where he projects in the NFL. I'm not sure if he's like a big slot. I'm not sure if he plays on the outside. I'm not sure if he can do both. I'm not sure how viable he will be as a Deebo Samuel type player because I don't know if anyone is Deebo Samuel. But this is another guy like Alec Pierce that through crossover and going back and seeing him again, I don't know what it was the second time, but his explosiveness just popped more to me the second time I watched him. He's just a rare specimen. It's hard to find guys like this. He's got a thick lower half. He's tall. He's big. He was the passing game for his team. And he can also make great contested catches down the field. And he's got big mitts and hands, and he can snatch it out of the air. And he's just tough to handle in the open field. Like, if people are comping him to somebody like A.J. Brown, I totally see it. It's just really tough for me to say that he is refined enough as a route runner, if he's good enough in his releases off the line. And his speed and his 40 also kind of disappointed, although that doesn't really show up on his film. So at number 34, Treylon Burks, who I think I'm liking more and more as the days pass, but I like him. And then at number 33, we've got another wide receiver, Skye Moore. Skye Moore is my number 33. Skye Moore, man, I love this guy. I love receivers like this. I love his attitude. I love his willingness to get better. I love that he's improved every single area of his game. And I feel like Skye Moore is getting underrated from the standpoint of how good he is as a guy that can release right off the line of scrimmage. His release packages are some of the best I saw in terms of just the ability to burst, pop off the line of scrimmage and make people miss and burn you down the sidelines. I mean, he made a lot of corners just straight up miss him off the line and burn him. But on top of that, I think he's got vertical speed that is underrated, and I think he's got lateral ability that's going to make him a very tough cover in the NFL as a slot receiver. He's also really tough to cover, and he is really tough to bring down. I think you can use him in a variety of ways. I think he could play on the outside because he's so good versus press coverage and he's so compact and difficult to get a hand on. I think he's very quick and shifty and can play in the slot. I think he can be used as like a jet sweep guy because he's so explosive and so tough to tackle. So Skye Moore is one of my personal favorites. I always love these type of receivers, and I see a ton of potential in Skye Moore. My number 32 is Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was initially my number 1 quarterback in this class, and he's still very close to being that. I think he's still the most ready to play day 1. But again, I am starting to buy into what people are saying about, well, how good is he truly going to be? And, I think I would be underestimating the potential of one of the other quarterbacks in this class, who I'll get to very soon here, if I were to dismiss the fact that I just don't know if Kenny Pickett is ever going to be great. I think he has the biggest and most likely chance to be good in this class. Not just okay, good. I think he can be a starting quarterback and for 5 years be the 15th best quarterback in the NFL, and I wouldn't be shocked at all. But will he ever be a top 10 guy? I don't know. That's going to be tough to say. This is a weaker quarterback class. But what I like about Kenny Pickett, okay, he's accurate. Very accurate. Knows where to put the football. And if you can put the football on the money, you're good in my book. On top of that, his arm is good. It's not bad at all. I think that's something that's gone, I don't know why. Maybe it's the gloves or whatever. The hands, I think they just think he doesn't have a good arm, but he's got a good arm. He's got really deceptive mobility and ability to escape the rush and extend plays. He can also scramble a lot more than people would think. He's smart. I love his attitude as a leader. I also like his ability to read defenses in a pro-style offense and go through his reads and prove that he can kind of lead the way for an offense, pick apart defenses, and do that at the college level. He's the only guy that showed that in this class. So for that, I think he is the guy that if I was on the hot seat and I needed a rookie to come in and win and I didn't have a quarterback, I would pick him. But I don't think he has the most upside, or the most likely upside is what I would say, right? He's the guy that I think if everyone in this class was to suck and there was one guy that was good, it would be Kenny Pickett. That's the way I view him, but I still think that that's not to put him down. That is a good thing because you know what you're getting from day one, and I still think there's things to work on as well. But the guy that I think has the reasonable upside, because I think Malik Willis has an upside, but I think it's something that I don't know if it will ever be reached. With Matt Corral, I think it's a lot more reasonable to reach his upside, which at his upside, I think he can be a dangerous quarterback. Because you're talking about a guy with a strong arm. You're talking about a guy that's instantly day one in the NFL going to have one of the quickest releases in the game. You're talking about somebody who can put the football wherever he wants to put it. You're talking about somebody with quick feet who can also explode and run for quick yardage in the running game. So Matt Corral has the skill set of being a top 10 quarterback at his upside. But where his downside exists is he's a little bit thin-framed. I'm not sure he's exactly thick enough at this level to sustain consistent impact and hits game after game after game, something he struggled with in college. On top of that, his offense in college was very RPO-centric, one-read type offense where he wasn't in a pro-style 1 to 2 to 3 or reading a defense, making the right decision every time. A lot of times the decisions were quick, easy, and allowed him to shine as a passer. So why I like Matt Corral so much is he has reasonable upside. And why I say that is his passing mechanics are so good that the only things he really needs to work on are the mental things. And if he can grasp the mental things, like somebody like, let's say, Josh Allen did, right? Like, he's not going to be like Josh Allen, but you know what I mean, right? Like, Josh Allen had all the passing capabilities to be very good. It was more so the mental stuff, right? Mahomes is a similar way in terms of those things. Like, you saw he had all the mechanics, the throwing ability, all that stuff. I think Zach Wilson was very similar in this way, where maybe at college you didn't see all of the pro-style stuff, but if they can eventually grasp it, they can be really good because as a raw passer of the football, they're already there at an NFL level. And Malik Willis not only has to work on mental, but he also has to work on his arm, his mechanics, his accuracy, and Matt Corral has all those things already. So that is why I'm high on Matt Corral at number 31, on top of his ability with his feet to be magical behind the line of scrimmage. So at number 31 is Matt Corral. At number 30 is Trevor Penning, tackle. Trevor Penning has all the upside in the world to be a very good tackle. I thought he possessed a toughness, a physicality. He is very raw as a pass protector, and he's got to be able to hone in that physicality and that aggression, but he has that old school just crush you type of way. I believe his PFF grade was like through the roof. It was like 99. FCS, dominated his competition, one of the best players there, and had like a ridiculous run blocking grade. So analytically speaking, he's definitely there. Now, I do think it's going to take a year or two for him to become a good NFL pass blocker, but in terms of his pure ability, athleticism, tools, and then also his mentality, he's already a crusher in the NFL at number 30. The number 29 player in the draft for me is Quay Walker, linebacker of Georgia. I like Quay Walker a lot because I think he can play in any defense. And I think he can do a lot of things potentially at a high level. He can already do stuff at a good level, but he has a lot of upside. Why? Because he's a fluid athlete who's 6'4" and about, 250. He's a big guy, and he's a tall, long guy who's also smart and also can do a variety of things. He can defend the run, he can defend the pass, and he can rush, and he can blitz. So he can do all these different things. He reminds me of like a Jamie Collins type player. And he's got that explosiveness, athleticism, and length that is extremely rare. But I think because of all of those things and traits that he offers, he's an NFL linebacker in just about any scheme and any defense. So Quay Walker is somebody that I feel like he was in a perfect spot in Georgia where he didn't have to be the guy that was like the thinker, right? He could allow himself to be the athletic freak. And if you can put him in a spot like Jamie Collins is with New England and was with New England, where it's Hightowers like the Mike, he's the guy that's calling the shots. Collins is the athlete. If you treat Quay Walker that way, he has a lot of upside to be a huge playmaker in the NFL. At number 28 is Travis Jones of Connecticut. Travis Jones is a beast. He's somebody that I think is going to be a great run defender from day one. He can take on blocks. He's a big boy, and he can eat up double teams. He's also somebody that showed, I think, more upside as a pass rusher than I think his critics would make you believe. But I do believe he's a first-round type of pick as an interior defensive lineman who could probably play in any system, but I think he's more so suited for an interior spot on a 3-4 type guy. But I mean, he could play kind of anywhere. And I just think he's a really good, well-rounded interior defensive lineman. And I do think these type of players are a little bit underrated in today's NFL. Next, we've got Bernhard Raimann, number 27. Bernhard Raimann is a tackle that, again, another raw guy at the tackle position. But from what I saw, he had really good feet. And I like tackles who can kind of mirror and match and be able to move with those quicky, twitchy pass rushers. And I think he's going to be able to do that in the NFL. I think he showed enough of that in college, graded very well in college. I'm not as high on him as some, but I'm also not as low on him as others. He's kind of a weird one right now. I feel like he's anywhere in the top 50, but yeah, I really like his feet, and I think he possesses the skill sets of a really good pass blocker. I'm not sure how great he's going to be as a run blocker, but as a pass blocker, he has a lot of upside. My number 26 is Lewis Cine of Georgia. Lewis Cine is a safety I like. I really like Lewis Cine, and it's because of his well-rounded, not only game, but traits. I think he has size, speed, explosiveness, coverage ability, and ability to get downhill and defend the run. I mean, everything. You know, he's like the the Marcus May of the draft, right? A guy that's traditionally a deep player, free safety type, but can come downhill in a hurry and make you pay in the run game. That is this guy. He sets the tone. He can defend tight ends in man coverage pretty well. I think he can do a ton of things. Run defense, coverage. He's the type of versatile free safety that you need in the NFL today. And love his attitude, love his reckless abandon. This guy just goes after it. And he's got that like thing that I loved about Antoine Winfield Jr., where he was going for it. Like he was just a rocket. So Lewis Cine at number 26 is one of my favorite players to watch, and a really, really good player. At number 25, this is going to be a shocker, Kvon Thibodeaux of Oregon. I don't really get the hype of Kvon Thibodeaux. I do think that it's very based on his previous tape from a year or two ago, or his status of where he was supposed to go earlier in the process. But I don't think he's a top pass rusher in this class. I think I have him 5th in my edge position rankings. I like him as a potential pass rusher in a 4-3 style defense. You know, in those wide 9 alignments, I think he can do some work there. But I do think he's more raw than people would make you think in terms of his ability to play with a plan, his ability to use his hands. I think he still needs work in that department. I don't think he's a rather fluid edge rusher in terms of the ability to dip and use, get around the corner. I definitely question that style of his game. And I think he's more of a power rusher in the NFL. I think he's somebody that's going to try to use his speed to power and going to have to get better with his hands to be able to sack quarterbacks. Similar to somebody like Jadeveon Clowney in that regard, where he's tight, right? And he doesn't have that Von Miller-esque bend, which could make him a good run defender and a solid pass rusher, but never an elite pass rusher. So I just question his absolute upside that people are suggesting. I think there's others with more upside and others with a higher floor as well, due to some of his concerns off the field and due to some of his concerns that I have no idea about, by the way, and due to some of his concerns as well as a me player. But like, I don't know. I'm not really taking that into account because I don't know him. So at number 25, Thibodeaux. Number 24 is Derek Stingley, cornerback of LSU. Another one that people are going to be mad at me in the comments, but let me explain. So this is my personal preference. I think Derek Stingley has the upside of being absolutely great. He has the upside of being Darrelle Revis, right? Which is immense. I mean, that would be the best player in this draft. I don't think anyone would debate that. His hips, his feet, he's got the long speed. I think he ran in the 4.3s. Press man ability, island ability. He's got that stuff, but he showed that in 2019. 2020 and 2021 was a different story, right? He played 10 games last 2 years. He's been hurt. People question his motor, his drive, his want to play. Now, when you look back at even stuff like his practice tape versus guys like Jamar Chase, it's really, really good. I mean, he shows those Stephon Gilmore-like traits. But I just don't know if he's the same player. I don't know if he's regressed. Like I wasn't as impressed with his 2020, 2021. And I don't know. Like, I just think he's really risky for a top pick. So I would be willing to pick him later in the first round, but I think I'd be having to pass on him at the first half of the first round, just because there's a really deep corner class here that I think is really good. And I think there's other corners that are better, as shown it more recently, and are talented. So I just think there's too many questions for me to put him any higher, but I would understand why you would be high on him as well. I think he has more upside than somebody like Thibodeaux, where I think that's a little bit more false. Next, we've got Garrett Wilson of Ohio State. Garrett Wilson, I'm growing to like more. The first time I watched him, I wasn't really sure why he was being touted as the best receiver in this class, and I don't think he is. Don't get me wrong. He's number 4 for me here, but he is really good all around. And you cannot really go wrong with a receiver who's really good all around. He's fast, not super fast, not lightning quick, but he's fast. He's got good feet. He's shown an ability to get off the line of scrimmage on the outside and make plays. He's shown enough in terms of contested catches and enough in terms of his route running and separation ability, which was really good for this class, I thought. He's shown enough at breaking plays down the field. He's shown, I thought, a lot in terms of his quick twitch to get away from defenders in the open field, to break tackles, make people miss. I think he can be a good slot player, a good outside player, just a good receiver. I don't know if he's ever going to be like a top 5 receiver in the NFL, which is maybe why I underestimated him early, because he's not Justin Jefferson, he's not Jamar Chase, but he is really, really good and good at a lot of things. So that's why I think Garrett Wilson, he's not necessarily a can't miss, but he should at least be a good player in this league at wide receiver. Next, we've got Andrew Booth. Andrew Booth, I really loved his ball skills. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me. Also, his long speed and his height. He's got a J.C. Jackson profile. Like, really incredible ability, body control to play the ball, to make plays on the ball. Anywhere in his vicinity, he's going to make a play on it. He's got the length to be able to make up for maybe the lateral quickness. Sometimes at the top of the route, he struggles. So that's something that concerned me, but he's got the length to play press man. He's got the length to play on the ball. He's also got the speed to carry vertically down the field. So those 3 things just in itself, it speaks to the immense upside. I think he could be really, really good in that Seattle scheme defense. I think he could also play man in a man scheme. So he's definitely an outside perimeter corner, but really, really, really high upside with him, and still a lot of untapped potential. At number 21, I've got Drake London. Drake London of USC. Some people are starting to get down on him. I'm still a fan of Drake London's game. And the reason I'll say, there's a couple reasons, okay? 3 to be exact. Number 1, and this is probably the most under and overlooked aspect. His offense was not very good. His quarterback was not very good. His quarterback threw him the ball an insane amount of times. Everybody in the world knew he was getting the ball. And he averaged 11 catches a game. Averaged. When he played. I don't usually look into production, but when you're the only good receiver on your team, your quarterback is not very good, and every defense is doubling you and putting attention on you, and you're catching 11 passes a game, you must be good. On top of that, his ball skills and his jump ball skills are maybe the best I've ever seen. And then third, his twitch at the top of the routes. I thought he showed enough quickness, enough lateral ability, where he's going to be able to win routes in the short and intermediate range. He's not just going to be a vertical threat. He's also excellent after the catch. So you can get him the ball in the screen game. You can get him the ball down the field by just throwing one-on-one jump ball. He's probably going to win it. You can get him the ball on option routes because he's got enough of that size plus the feet to be really dangerous. I think he's got it all. Now, he just doesn't have the speed. And that's why people are concerned about the separation. I think when people say he's Marquise Colston, I totally could see that. But I think he's maybe a little bit better athlete. So London is really, really good. I do see the concerns, but I think the upside is too much to outweigh. On top of, I see the things that could make him, or at least I think will make him good in the NFL. Next, at number 20, Zion Johnson, BC. This guy's just really good at football. I don't really know what else to say other than he's pro ready, he's versatile, and he's just really good. He's just really good. I mean, sometimes with offensive linemen, there's not much to say, but he didn't really ever get beat. He didn't really ever show any true flaws. He's just not really like extraordinary, I would say. He's just a good football player. I think if you pick Zion Johnson, you're probably not going to be excited. But let me tell you this, you're going to get a good starter on the offensive line for a number of years. So you should be happy with that at number 20. At number 19 is my guy, my favorite player in this draft class, and probably much higher on this list than anyone else's. Christian Watson of North Dakota State. Christian Watson, the only reason I didn't put him higher is because I was afraid of being judged. But no, not. At this point, I'm not, because I've already made a whole video about the kid. But there is still like some rawness to his game that you're not sure how it's going to transfer to the NFL, right? But other than that, he's a freak. He's the freak. He's faster than anyone in the draft for his size and speed. He's got ridiculous horizontal east-west, west-east ability for his size. It is unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. He's great with the ball in his hands, makes people miss via just running them over, juking them out, hurdling them, running past them. He can turn the corner. He's going to be great in the screen game. He's going to be a vertical threat. Nobody in the world is going to want to press cover this guy, because if you get beat, you are done. You are done. He's running right by you. And I think at the Senior Bowl, it confirmed it. The Senior Bowl, with his ability to go up against the best of the best and tear it up and win on every level, I think showed his freakish ability. So even though he didn't put up all the numbers and he didn't do it against the best comp, he showed that he's an excellent athlete, a great receiver, and should go in the first round. If he doesn't, I will be surprised, honestly. I think the NFL views him that way. So at number 19, Christian Watson. At number 18, George Karlaftis, going from one of the more exciting athletic prospects to a guy that's just an absolute beast of a human. I mean, George Karlaftis, I heard he was like a beast shot putter. No wonder. He is one of the strongest humans in this draft. His upper body is insane. His ability to set the edge is going to be in Bill Belichick's wet dreams. His hands are ferocious, physical, and violent. He really knows how to rush with a plan. He really knows how to use his hands and leverage to be able to win in the run game. I could view George Karlaftis as a Ryan Kerrigan in the NFL. But if he were somebody that didn't quite win as a pass rusher all the time, I still think he's going to be a really good player. Maybe he's not somebody that possesses the traits of being a bendy pass rusher that gets you 12 sacks a year. But at the very least, he's going to be a good football player because he's so good against the run. He's so powerful. And he will find ways to win with power and hands and technique in the NFL as a pass rusher. So George Karlaftis is number 18. At number 17, you guys could tell how excited I was just to say 17. Kenneth Walker. I know he's a running back, guys. This guy's insane. This guy is my fantasy pick for the next 5 years in a row. He is ridiculous. Kenneth Walker looked like, I don't know, I don't like these comps, okay, but I mean, he has like LaDainian Tomlinson like ability. Like, he's strong, he's powerful, his feet, the way he can elude people and jump cut, unbelievable. His explosiveness is insane. He hits a hole, he's gone. He doesn't catch the ball. He didn't pass block, but every team he played was stacking the box. They had, I mean, it's kind of like Jonathan Taylor to me vibes, where he's probably going to go in the second round, but it's the same sort of thing here where they didn't really show a ton in college to be able to catch the ball, pass block, and all that stuff. but they were just absolute freaks with the football when they were running it. And I think Walker is better laterally, and he's quicker. I'm not sure if he's as powerful straight line speed as Jonathan Taylor. I'm not exactly sure about that, but it's close. I mean, this guy is really good, and he is going to be a beast in the NFL. So I love him. If I had a second round pick, I would pick this guy. I wouldn't pick him in the first round because he's a running back. Second round, I would pick him at any spot. That's how good he is. All right. Number 16 is Charles Cross. Charles Cross is a really, really promising pass blocker in the NFL. Has all the tools, feet and length, especially length, to be able to protect at a high level in the NFL. And did it in college at a very high level. Some people even think he's the best pass blocker in this draft, which I would disagree with, but I think he's probably second. He did a lot of pass blocking in college. Like, they rarely ran the ball, which is where I kind of take off points for him. I think he'd be higher if I saw him more in terms of his physicality, his run game ability, but he's really good in the pass blocking department. He's going to have to work on the run blocking stuff, but that shouldn't take much. I mean, you're going ahead, you're trying to beat people up instead of going through pass sets. So I think Charles Cross is really good. I think he's probably a top 10 pick in this draft. I just prefer other players ahead of him. So at number 16, I got Charles Cross. At number 15, Devonta Wyatt of Georgia. Really like Devonta Wyatt. I think he's being slept on because Trayvon Walker and because Nakobe Dean and because of Jordan Davis and some of the more tantalizing, well-known Georgia prospects. Devonta Wyatt is really good and has a lot of upside as a pass rusher. Really good. I think he's going to be 4-3 D tackle, that prototypical guy. He's great hands. I think he showed the best ability to pass rush in this draft from that position and can dominate that way. I see Chris Jones type upside here. Maybe he's never going to be the greatest run defender in the world, but in terms of a pass rusher, the upside is crazy. So really good player, really good athlete, and deserves to be top 15 pick in this draft. At number 14, I've got Kenyan Green. Kenyan Green is just a great, versatile lineman, and he kicked butt at every spot he played. Tackle, kicked butt. Guard, even better. I mean, he's just really good. And that's why I see the versatility, which I love. I see the strength, which I love. The kick buttery that I love. So all of it is amazing. But I think just the fact that he was so good at multiple positions, so effective, so efficient, so reliable, so consistent. That's why he's number 14. My number 13 prospect in the 2022 NFL Draft is Trent McDuffie, cornerback, Washington. McDuffie is one of my favorites in the draft. He processes defensively at a very high level, reading concepts offensively at a high level, jumping balls very well. Now, there are some concerns, I believe, about potentially his length, or maybe his size as an outside guy, but I think he can play either or. I think he can play outside. I think he can play nickel. I think his feet are great. I think his instincts are phenomenal. I think his zone coverage ability is upper echelon. I think his man ability is there. So McDuffie is a Asante Samuel type of guy. I really like him, and I think he could play inside, outside. And I think he'll probably start at nickel for a lot of teams to start with and then move to the outside later in his career. But either way, he's going to be phenomenal, and I love him a lot. So at number 13, McDuffie. At number 12, Daxton Hill of Michigan. Daxton Hill is one of the best players, one of the best football players in this draft. His versatility is phenomenal. As a defensive back, I really think you could argue Daxton Hill could play any position like Devin McCourty in the NFL. I think he could play free safety. I think he could play strong safety. I think he could play nickel. I think he could play perimeter corner. He's got the speed. He's got the viciousness. He's got the leadership. He's got the playmaking ability. I think his best spot is probably free safety with a mix of nickel, and I think he can do both, kind of like Tyrann Mathieu does in the NFL. And I think he'll be best utilized with a creative defensive coordinator. So I think if your team gets Daxton Hill, you're going to be really excited because you know he can play on every down at any spot. And if you get injuries, this player is even more valuable because he can fill in at any spot. He's that type of athlete where he's got the length and the speed, and he's shown the playmaking ability on tape to be one of the best safeties in the NFL. At number 11, Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is sort of similar in terms of versatility of a Daxton Hill, but at a different position. Devin Lloyd is being comped a little bit to Parsons from a year ago due to his ability as a downhill run defender to also be able to rush the passer. I think where it's a little bit different, I think Parsons can rush the passer better, but I think Lloyd's better in pass coverage. I think Lloyd has actually really good understanding of pass coverage on top of just the fluidity as an athlete to cover, but he's also size-wise, range-wise to be able to play the run, come downhill and take on guards and centers. I think he can do that. I think he can blitz really well. He anticipates really well. He smacks people. And he can also rush off the edge like a Dante Hightower type player and give you real value as a third down pass rusher. So I think Devin Lloyd is one of those guys that fits that Belichick type linebacker to the utmost degree. So at number 11 is Devin Lloyd. At number 10, Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is an absolute planet. I mean, this guy is immovable. He is literally the immovable object. When the person thought of the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, they were literally talking about Jordan Davis. This guy cannot be moved. He is a weapon because you are not going to be bad against the run if you have Jordan Davis on your team. I don't care who else is on your team. I don't care if you play 9 corners, okay? Jordan Davis is going to eat double teams, and he's going to swallow people up in like a black hole. He is so good against the run. He is the strongest player I've maybe ever seen. He is a beast. I want him on my team because this is the value of Jordan Davis. Some people are saying, oh, well, he's a 2-down player. First off, the NFL throws the ball on first down. Second, if they run the ball on first down, they're getting 2 yards. Third, you can play less people in the box when you have Jordan Davis because he takes up so much room and because he eats up so many blockers and because you can't block him. So that is why Jordan Davis is so valuable, because you can play pass even though, let's say you don't love him as a pass rusher. But here's the thing. I think he has the ability to be a pass rusher. I think it was mostly his defensive scheme that didn't allow him to be a pass rusher. And I think he has all the traits similar to a Vita Vea to be that type of player. So Jordan Davis is my number 10. I love him. My number 9 prospect is Quay Walker, staying in Georgia. The defensive end is very fascinating because some people are just down on him because they want to be counterculture and they want to be cool and they want to test the machine. That's what it feels like. They rise against the machine. That's kind of what it feels like right here. Because Quay Walker is the guy that nobody wants to love because he's the freak athlete. He's the guy that blew up the combine. He's the guy that everybody's like, oh, he's just good because he ran fast and he's strong and this and that, right? Here's the thing. When you watch his tape, it's not as entertaining as others because he's not actually asked in his defense to always just win as a pure pass rusher, win with technique, come around and bend around the corner and just kill quarterbacks. I think if he was just lined up as a 4-3 end and wide 9 Nick Bosa style, just rush the quarterback, he'd have way more production and a lot of people would love him. And I think he'd get more buzz, to be honest, earlier. But I think true NFL people looked at his tape and saw the rawness and the ability to be a true game wrecker. Because on his tape, he is so strong. Like, unbelievably strong. Like, he will never be moved off the ball. He will never lose a battle. His losses are stalemates. He's going to be an elite run defender. He's got great versatility due to that and his strength and his speed, right? You could line up Walker anywhere from 3-4 end to 3-4 outside linebacker to 4-3 end and get away with it and succeed. He can drop back into coverage. He can set the edge. He can rush the passer with power. And if you work on some of those things as a pass rusher, which I'm sure he can do, but due to Georgia playing a more strict style of defense, kind of like the Patriots in the NFL, his skill set isn't always asked to be that pure pass rusher. Because others around him, like Wyatt, were that guy on his team, right? And they're just trying to win games. So Trayvon Walker is a beast, man. And he's got a way higher floor than people think because he is so gifted that I just can't see him being bad. Now, will he live up to the billing if he goes first? I don't know, though, because he hasn't really shown on film that he is that great pass rusher. So the versatility, I love. The power, the strength, I love. The speed is amazing. And you see it. I mean, it shows up. So Trayvon Walker is a really good football player. And don't underestimate those traits because they're real and you actually do see them. They're not just weight room things. At number 8, Jermaine Johnson. Now, this is going to be a little bit surprising for some people, but I love Jermaine Johnson. I love his game. I love his style of play. I think he is vicious in a Lawrence Taylor type of way where, and by the way, the guy looks like Lawrence Taylor. I mean, when he looks like a 3-4 outside linebacker from the textbook. You know what I mean? Derek Thomas, DeMarcus Ware. This is what this guy looks like, okay? And he plays like it. He's got a street, like, I want to beat you up type of style of play. And his run defense is arguably the best in the entire class with the way he sets the edge with his power. He just dominated some of the best prospects in this class. I mean, Aquanu, who's going to be coming up here on the list, who I like, he dominated him in all regards in that game. He dominated the Senior Bowl. He shouldn't have even been there. He was so good as a pass rusher and a run defender. And he possesses the type of bend that I don't see with somebody like Thibodeaux or Karlaftis, where I could see the upside from Jermaine Johnson, which is why he's worthy of a top 5 pick, in my opinion, if you need a pass rusher, because he is that type of good. He is great as a run defender right now, but he has the actual qualities to become a great pass rusher, and he's physically dominant. So I like him a lot, and I think he's got the style of play that I would want from an edge rusher on my team. Then we've got number 7, Tyler Linderbaum. What am I saying? Tyler Linderbaum. This guy is, what can I possibly say? He is so good at football. That's it. I mean, he's like Jason Kelce 2.0. That's what he is. If you want Jason Kelce, that's who this guy is, okay? He moves extremely well. He is way stronger than his size would suggest. He's got that wrestler background, and you can tell he's got that grip strength on you. He just dominates at the point of attack. He is so quick, and like with that type of strength for his size, it's unbelievable. Could he possibly not be a fit for some teams due to his size? Maybe. But as a zone blocking center, he'll be an elite all-pro player for like 6 years in a row. That's how good he is. Like in college, he did not lose. He did not lose. He did not fail. And he is so good at every area that you need a center to be great. So that's why he's my number 7 prospect. He's not going to go 7th overall. But I think if you would ask every evaluator, he would be at the top of the list in terms of can't miss because he's just that good. My number 6 player in this draft is Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is an electric receiver, playmaker. He's very fast without the ball and with the ball. You see him run past 2 Georgia defensive backs. One of the best defenses we've ever seen. Couldn't cover Jameson Williams. Couldn't cover him. And the weird thing is, Jameson Williams, I think due to the injury, is being hyped up a lot less than he should be. Because Devonta Smith got immense hype. As he should. He was a Heisman winner. I love Devonta Smith. He's not as good as Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is faster. Jameson Williams is quicker. Jameson Williams is dominant. I mean, this guy's just ability to separate on routes, his ability to turn the corner and win on yak plays. He can line up in the slot on the outside. Sure, he's not the most physically dominant. He's not that amazing with the ball in the air, but it doesn't really matter because that's not the type of player he is, you know? So he's going to make an instant impact because you need to know where he is at all times on the field. He's going to need to be doubled a lot because he's so fast. And we even saw him split doubles again versus the best defenses in college football. He's that good, man. Georgia could not cover this guy. That's all I have to say. And Georgia has like 18 players on this list. So at number 6, Jameson Williams. At number 5, Ekwonu. You knew it was coming. I told you. Now, why I love him, his run game ability is spectacular. He is a specimen. He is powerful. He wants to hurt you, and I love that from a tackle. He wants to get in space and, like a Trent Williams, bury you into the dirt, and I think a lot of teams are going to love that. He does get a little bit lungy in his pass sets, and his pass sets need work. I don't think he's the most refined as a pass blocker, but I think he can get there. He has probably the most tools of all the tackles to be great, but he's not the most ready as of right now. I think there's a guy that's more ready, but he can still start from day one. I'd probably rather see him at right tackle from day one, but he can play either or. He's just really, really good, and he's going to be a dominant run blocker for a lot of years to come. My number 4 player in this draft is Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton, I think the stuff about his speed's being overblown because when you watch his tape, none of it comes up. His range pops off the screen for a guy at 6'4". He eats up a lot of ground quickly because his strides are crazy, right? Somebody could be faster than him, but his strides are so long that he can keep up with them in coverage. He covered slot receivers at 6'4", looking like a linebacker, looking like Quay Walker. So Kyle Hamilton is a playmaker. He's extremely smart. He's extremely instinctive. He's a great football player. And I think he can play in a lot of different places. I think he can play strong. I think he can play free. I think he can play nickel. I think he can do it all. Linebacker. I mean, he could do all those sort of things. And he reminds me of Harrison Smith because of his IQ matched with incredible length and all-around ability. Coverage, tackling, all of it. So Kyle Hamilton is a great football player. At number 3 is Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. Aiden Hutchinson, I don't know why isn't that exciting to people. You would think he'd maybe be more exciting just because he's from Michigan. His look is kind of cool, when you watch him. And I don't know what it is. Maybe we're kind of tired of like the white pass rusher because we got the Boses already. But like Hutchinson is really good, and I think his ceiling is higher than people think. He's a better athlete than I think people are suggesting because Trevor Walker is so freaky. His hands are amazing though. He's great at setting up tackles. You can tell this guy loves the process of breaking down film, attacking tackles. He understands it. He understands the nuances already. So that to me means he's gonna get 10 sacks his first year. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. Even if he's the number 1 guy that teams are looking to stop on the defensive line, I could see him getting 10 sacks because he's just ready to dominate the NFL as a pass rusher. Is he going to be like the best pass rusher in the NFL? He's not going to be like TJ Watt or Myles Garrett, but he has a chance to be like a Pro Bowler every year type of deal. So that's how good he is. I mean, and he's already good, and he's only getting better, and he's a very good run defender too, and he's got great effort and a high motor, and he's a great culture guy. I mean, he has a lot of things that he's just a really good pick at the top of the first round. You can't go wrong with Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's a really good player. My number 2 is Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner might even be my number 1. It was pretty close, to be honest with you. Sauce Gardner is extremely rare for a cornerback. First, mentally, his mentality is what I love from corners. He knows he's good, and he's going to tell you he's good. It's Richard Sherman-esque that way. His name's Sauce. I mean, you got to be good if your name's Sauce. I mean, come on. But his physical attributes, his length to be able to play press coverage on top of having quick feet to match sideline to sideline, horizontally sound players, quick players. It's unlike anything I've seen in terms of that, right? When you look at Sherman, he's somebody that's long, powerful. He's bigger than Sauce Gardner, but he wasn't great laterally, right? So Sauce Gardner has length like a Sherman, but feet like a much smaller cornerback. He's still got the speed to be like 4-4 guy where he can run with a lot of the fastest wide receivers, at least for a while. He's technically sound. He's great in press coverage. He's very instinctual in zone coverage. He played more man than zone and a lot of press, which I love from corners. But if you want him to play in off coverage, he can do it, I think, as well. Pretty high level. So I just think he's incredibly versatile, incredibly gifted in terms of his rare skill set of height, length, and feet. And then also his mentality, his swagger is what I want from a defensive leader and a corner. So my number 2 is Sauce Gardner, but you could debate he is number 1. And my number 1 is Evan Neal. The reason Evan Neal is number 1, I don't think you can miss with him. But on top of that, Evan Neal is a wall. Evan Neal is a beast of a pass rusher. I don't know if I could tell you if anybody beat him. I honestly don't know. He is that good at football. He's like Jonathan Ogden-esque in terms of his pass protecting abilities. I mean, he was just like, it didn't even matter who it was. What side it was, left, right, it doesn't matter. He's just that good. If it was me, he would be the first pick in the draft. He's going to be a blindside tackle for years to come. He can start from day one, right out the box, and he's going to dominate. And he's a beast. He's huge. He's a mammoth. And he's also got good feet. He's strong, smart. He's great, man. And I think he's the best pass blocker in this draft. So Evan Neal is my number 1 player. Those are my top 50 prospects. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know where I was right, where I was wrong, and let me know maybe your top 10 or whatever sort of list you want to give me in the comment section below. Appreciate everybody tuning in, watching. This is my first ever big board. I hope I was somewhat accurate, but I hope I at least gave you information about every prospect in my top 50. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's Mitch. We'll see you next time. And make sure that you tune in for the live draft stream. I'll be live during the first round of the draft. Peace, guys.